So let's dive into repair. And one thing we have to get very clear, because the couples I work with on a weekly basis are getting this wrong. What is the difference between resolution and repair? Oh, okay. So those of us who are high achievers, who are very much in project mode a lot in our lives, we know resolution. But the issue is resolution does not mean that the relationship feels stronger. Resolution is I can close the tab on, my screen. Like, oh, we've figured that out. Resolution means some compromise maybe was made, something was negotiated out. Resolution means that you both are on the same page with a decision. Sometimes when we need to resolve something with our partner, we've got to collect more information. See, resolution is all about project mode. But here's the interesting thing. Around 69% of arguments are not going to get resolved. Thank you, Gottmans, for teaching us that, right? The research they've done has shown us that 69% of arguments are not going to get resolved. So what do? Do we stay in this constant state of with our partner? No, we repair. So the first thing I need you to know, so that when you walk away from this, you're very clear on it, is resolution is not repair. That's why you can come to a conclusion with your partner and still feel like crap afterwards and be like, I don't really want to see your face. Resolution does not mean we feel good about each other. It just means, again, the tab has been closed. We've made that decision, moving on. It's no longer an item on the to-do list. Repair is about connection. Repair is about attunement. Repair is I see you, you matter to me, no matter what the decision is that's made. No matter the fact that this might be one of the many conversations we have about this topic and cannot resolve. Okay? So understand that. Resolution, project mode. Repair, connection mode. And some of us have been so much in project mode with each other that we're going to focus on and believe that resolution is the key. I've worked with couples who believe that in repairing, they should explain their way of being in the resolution. Well, this is why I did this, and this is because of this, and this, and this. And I'm like, you're explaining. You're going back into project mode. That's not going to repair things. You're just bringing the issue right back up. No wonder your partner's getting defensive. So let's talk about what a repair actually is. So like I said, it's connection, it's attunement. I see you. I feel my feelings too. Let's remember we chose each other, right? Let's come back to each other. Most of us don't know how to do this. It's very uncomfortable. We're really good at put up the walls, get defensive, justify, be reactive, right? Or even like put up the walls and like, I'll talk to you in 3 or 4 days. I'm going to be grumpy at you so that I punish you and but also I'm trying to protect myself. These are the patterns we fall into. So what I'm going to teach you today is how to start repairing, which is not going to feel natural. But it's a lot like if you ever cross your arms, maybe mine goes left on top first. Cross your arms and see what's your normal. And if you cross them the opposite way, it's like, wait, that feels uncomfortable. But it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. You're just doing it differently. Same if I do cross my fingers over. If my left is always in front and then I switch over and right, I'm sure there's some meaning to that. Somebody could tell me. But anyways, if the right is in front, it feels uncomfortable. But I'm just doing something differently. So I'm going to teach you repair. And I want you to know it probably will not feel comfortable, right? Hello, Sarah. Welcome. Oh, I'm glad you've been married 22 years. Congratulations. This is amazing. So this is one of those things I want you to be thinking about. This will not come easily or be comfortable. And I am actually in the third one going to challenge you to do something that your nervous system will go, no, against. And that's okay. It's because we're just crossing our fingers differently. Okay. So the first way that we can start repairing in our relationship is to take ownership for our part. Even like a small thing that we did. I did say that thing that way. I rolled my eyes. You're right. I huffed at you. I take full ownership. You don't deserve that disrespect. Just taking ownership for not the problem, but how you acted, what you said, what you didn't do. You're right, I went into fix it mode. And you hear with that you're right, because usually our partner has told us in the argument what we're doing that's a problem, that bothers us, right? So being able to take ownership for our behaviors, our actions without, well, I did that only because you, well, if you hadn't done this, I wouldn't have. No, 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 no. We're not at the playground anymore, guys. We're grown adults. We have choices. Yes, we tend to be reactive and impulsive with emotional issues, all of us. But we also have a wise mind, the prefrontal cortex that goes, hold on, if I just take a deep breath right now, instead of letting my amygdala go, I've got a panic, fight or flight, freeze or fawn. And I just take a moment and go, hey, I need a 20-minute break. I'll come back in a second. Do I really want to say that thing to my partner that I know hits the core of them feeling like a failure in life? Probably not, right? So we do have to take ownership. I do know that when I say that, that hurts you. I do know when I point out all those things, it makes you feel worse about yourself. It is just key for us to look in the mirror and go, I'm an imperfect human being who does things wrong. So, yes, I can own up in an argument when I was impulsive. I can even own up when maybe I stayed calm. However, what I intended didn't land very well. We can have great intentions in an argument of like, well, I was just trying to share with you my thoughts and why I got upset. My husband did this to me recently. He's like, I was just explaining why I was angry at you, like what was aggravating me. And I was like, yes, but in your explanation and your honesty, you kind of jabbed at me without realizing. He's like, well, that was not my intent. I was like, yeah, but the delivery, it's not about being right. It's about being effective. If it hurts your partner, you can own my intention was not to hurt you, but I take full ownership that I did. We can do that. And when I work with couples, that's one of the key things I have them do is self-responsibility. Stop pointing the finger. Because as much as we do this, we never have to look at ourselves. So that's number one, take ownership for your part. Number two, if you watched in April my call, then you know that there are 3 reasons we tend to have arguments on repeat. First one is about connection. Why are you always on your phone? Why don't you ever plan date night? I don't feel like you really want to be connected with me. The second is usually around freedom and autonomy. Like, give me my space. Why do you need to know everything about me? Like, let me have some freedom here. And the third is power and control. Whose decision is going to be the one that we decide upon? Who's the one who's going to decide how the dishes are put in the dishwasher or where we're going on vacation? Right? These are bigger things, but power and control. So we need to stop and reflect and take ownership for what's the deeper issue. What's the deeper issue that we're feeling? I said those things, and this argument really was sparked from my feeling like we're not connecting anymore. Or I shared what I did because I feel like all I do is fail you and that I'm never enough. What do we have to do to be able to do that? We have to stop. We have to reflect and become more self-aware, which means working on ourselves, better understanding ourselves, knowing our core wounds. We all have them. Whether you had a good or neutral childhood, we still have core wounds. We have those things people said to us or did that hurt, rubbed us the wrong way. So we have to pay attention to what are those things that can get, we like to use the word triggered. That's a big buzzword, that trigger us, that create an emotional reaction in us. Why do they? Do they rub up against our values, our cultural norms, what we believe to be true in the world? Or is there a wound there? And that leads us to be reactive. So when I can go, husband, when you make these comments, I'm taking on this belief that I continue to not be good enough and that you're not going to want to stick around. That's a different conversation. And that's an ability to repair as well, because he can be like, oh my God, I don't want you to feel that way. I'm here and you are enough. Whew, right? That's connection. That helps us repair. Sarah, you said, yes, taking ownership, a very new phase for us. Goodness, yes, I think for many of us. I found it learning and finding the right words to describe it so it lands in the way you want it to be received. Absolutely, Sarah. And one of the keys to that I like to explain. Now, I live in Germany. I'm having to learn German. English is my mother tongue. My husband speaks English perfectly. So we'll let's say I'm working with a different couple, right? Where it's like English and French, and both of them don't speak the other's language. Well, if I keep, as the English person, keep yelling to the person in French in English louder, they're not going to understand what I'm saying. And if my partner who speaks French is yelling to me in English, I'm not going to get what they're saying. But if I take the time to learn some phrases in French to explain what I'm trying to say, my partner's going to better understand. And if they take some time to go, oh, now that I actually understand what you're saying and you're not yelling at me about it anymore, I'm going to learn some words in English so that I can explain what I'd like to say in response. And then all of a sudden, we're speaking each other's languages, not necessarily the same language, but each other's languages, because each of us processes information differently. We think about the world differently. We've got thinkers, feelers, extroverts, introverts, right? More intuitive, more fact-based. So if I go to a client and I'm like, how do you feel about that? They might be like, I'm fine. But if I go, what do you think about that? I mean, I'll be there for 30 minutes. And vice versa. If I go to a client, what do you think about that? And they're like, well, I don't have any thoughts. But how do you feel? I feel so overwhelmed and so angry. And all of a sudden, there's the words. So we do have to start to learn each other's language to communicate. Hey, here's my deeper issue in a way you're going to understand. So the third one, this is the one I told you guys, is going to be uncomfortable and your nervous system may not like it, but that doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. Remember, we're just crossing our fingers a different way. After an argument, in order to repair, take a deep breath. Are you ready for it? I want you to connect in some physical form. Hold hands. Hand on the shoulder. A hug. Ooh, that one's going to be a tough one if you're really still activated and angry. A kiss if you're feeling really bold. And not like a pet kiss, a real kiss. Why? Because our brain believes we're so angry at this person and they're the villain and they're a threat and they're a problem. But if we say, no, I'm going to physically connect with this person, why would we physically connect with someone who is actually a danger to us? Oh, because they're not actually a danger to us. It's just the discussion was heated and it emotionally hurt. And mentally, we're angry at them for the things they said. And we have all these thoughts. But it doesn't mean we don't love them. It doesn't mean we don't choose them. We may not feel the love in that moment, but our deeper knowing is that we choose them and we love them. So I encourage you then in that third tool of repair is to do some form of physical contact. And here's the kicker. You can't just like hold hands, done. We got to hold hands and stay in it and stay there. And you know what's even helps even more? Take deep breaths. Even better if you can do it together. And stay when it's uncomfortable. And then all of a sudden you'll notice oxytocin releases. And all that adrenaline and all the cortisol of the stress of the argument starts to become less challenging, less tightening in your system. And you start to soften. You might start crying even, like, because it's kind of a pain to hold tension and resentment towards your partner. It's like storing it up like a pressure cooker. So you hold it. You hold that hug. And if your love language is physical touch, this will speak to you even more. And you probably fight it even more because you're like, no, I don't want to feel connected to you. I'm so angry still. No. I have a client who would just keep her hands beside her and the husband will just give her a big hug. And she's like, I know I need this right now, but I don't like it. And he doesn't let go. And then she'll soften. Because we have to start training our brain. There is no real threat here. Unless there's actual threat, then yeah, that's a different story. But we're talking about long-term relationships, that do not have abuse, we're not in that realm. We're talking about we just argue and we feel like we're in roommate mode because we stay in project mode and we don't connect. And here's a big reason why. We were resolving things, coming to resolutions, but we weren't repairing things. So I'm going to look real quick in the comments. My husband always says, give me a kiss when we've argued, and it's so hard. Damn, it's annoying that he was right. It is. I'm the relationship specialist. Do you know who comes in first for that hug? My husband. I'm very proud of him in that because there's many things that I'd be like, I wish you'd work on these things, but you know what? I'll take it. He gives me that hug and he holds me, or he reaches out and holds my hand. And I'm in perimenopause. So like I righteous rage, I feel generational frustration at all men in those moments. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I choose you. I love you. I just don't like that we can't agree on this. And I don't like that you say things that way. And I don't like, okay, but I can let that go right now because right now we're repairing. And later we can try talking again about that thing that's been bothering me or bothering you, right? And the more that we have these repair moments, a lot of people like to use the emotional bank, right? Like a bank account where we're adding in money into that. Every moment of repair, every moment of connection, every 5 minute during the day, you're like, hey, how are you? What can I do to support you today, right? Just connection. It adds into that so that when we have those arguments, our natural response over time will be to repair after, rather than always needing to seek resolution. Sometimes seeking resolution is trying to be right. Well, I was right. You did say that wrong. You said it was Saturday, but it was Sunday. People. Are we at the playground still? No. So there are things that we have to realize. The more we repair after arguments, after every argument, as uncomfortable as it is, the more you make this a habit, a pattern in your relationship, you are building up that relationship bank, that emotional connection bank, so that the negatives don't feel like such a depletion, right? You don't feel like we're at minus 25 when actually we were at 500. And so now we're just at maybe 450. You said that thing that hurts me and you know not to say that, but you took ownership afterwards and you hugged me and you were working on not saying that again. And I'm working on not blowing up at you or whatever, right? This is the key to why we need to start repairing. If you feel roommate mode, if you have felt disconnected, if you felt what I like to call the emotional divorce, but you're still we're still going through, we're really great at getting stuff done, then repair is where it's at. This is one of the best tools you can start working on, because not arguing, I'm sorry, it's just not an option. I have a lot of couples go, well, it shouldn't be this hard. We shouldn't be arguing so much. And I go, you shouldn't? Why? You're both pretty stubborn firstborn children. Of course you're going to argue. So who told you shouldn't be arguing? Well, that's not true. Who told you it shouldn't be this hard? You picked a partner who is here to sandpaper against you until you turn soft, right? To rough out those edges, soften them up, to really become a better version of you. It's hard to believe that in the moment, but those sandpaper moments are us facing those old wounds. They're facing ourselves. They're going, I don't like this part of me. I want to work on this. I'm so tired of feeling unworthy in every area of my life, not just in my relationship. I'm tired of feeling disrespected. I'm going to start facing these things, right? Where does that come from? That's why we pick our partner, because they're a perfect match to bring all that to the surface, all the uncomfortable things. And so why run from them? So start to repair, start to do that inner work, take ownership for your part. Did you say something in a certain way that did not get received well, or you intended it not to be received well? Roll your eyes, huff, interrupt, fix, whatever it might be. Raise your voice, whatever. Slam the door, throw the phone. I don't know. We all have different responses. Hopefully you're not throwing your phone. Number 2, take ownership for your deeper issue. This is really about this. This is me feeling like a failure in life. And here's just one more thing I can't get right. Not so that your partner comes in and rescue you. "Oh, I don't want you to feel that way. Oh, I'm so sorry." But just to be like, "No, I'm just taking ownership for my stuff. I gotta work on it." And 3, connect physically and hold that connection for the time that it feels uncomfortable and past that till it starts to soften you. So your brain knows this person is safe. Okay, so Sarah, you shared reminds me of the human and light version of kintsugi, the art of beautiful repair. I love that. I specialize in grief work as well, and that topic is often something that we address of how it's kind of, and relationships feel this way too. Something might happen and it breaks it into pieces, and then how do we bring it together with that gold and create something even better? So I love that, Sarah. Thank you for bringing up that. Do you guys have any questions for me? Any questions about repairing? Any questions about the difference between resolution and repair? Remember, resolution, if you're coming to repair with your partner and you find yourself explaining a whole lot, you're back in resolution. You're trying to bring up the problem again. Don't. Repair is simple. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Well, then thank you for those who watched, who are here. For those who watched the replay, feel free to write me privately. Would love to continue to have you in my space to learn tools to reconnect your relationship. This summer, I'm going to be teaching couples how to have weekly reset. If you'd like to learn about that, send me a message, weekly reset, and I will send you that information. We'll be doing it over 6 weeks, learning how to be held accountable to connecting every week in ways that really are powerful. So I'd love for you to come and join us for that. So again, send me a DM or comment weekly reset, and I'll send you over the info for that. But it has been my pleasure to serve you all and to talk to you all and teach you. And again, happy that you're here.